The Kansas City Chiefs just went through their worst season in over a decade. Their quarterback is on the surgical table recovering from a torn ACL. Their coordinators are being hunted by other franchises. And their salary cap situation is, frankly, a disaster. This is not speculation. This is not rumor. Every single thing you are about to hear is confirmed, sourced, and real, and it paints a picture of a dynasty that is standing at a genuine crossroads. If you want the most accurate, no-nonsense Chiefs content on YouTube, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell right now, because this is the kind of breakdown you don't want to miss. Let's set the table first, because context matters. The Kansas City Chiefs finished the 2025 NFL season with a record of 6-11, their first losing campaign since 2012, and their first failure to reach the playoffs in over a decade. For a franchise that had become synonymous with January football, that number stings in a way that is difficult to overstate. Mahomes himself was far from his MVP-winning best. His 63.1 completion percentage was the lowest of his career as a starter, and his 22 touchdowns were the fewest of his career as a full-time starter. Then came the moment that defined the entire season. In Week 15 against the Los Angeles Chargers, Mahomes suffered a torn ACL in his left knee while trying to extend a play. He had to be helped off the field, and his departure officially ended Kansas City's postseason hopes. He underwent surgery the very next day in Dallas to repair the tear, and began his rehab process immediately. And he reconfirmed that Mahomes is making consistent progress, spending roughly 7 hours a day in the building. His target is a return for Week 1 of the 2026 season, though no firm timeline has been committed to publicly. That's the backdrop. A broken season. A hurt franchise quarterback. And now an off-season that could reshape this organization for the next 5 years. Now here is where things get genuinely serious for Chiefs Kingdom. Most of the conversation in recent weeks has centered on offensive coordinator Matt Nagy and his ties to the Tennessee Titans head coaching vacancy. That's a real story. But there is an even bigger, heavier name in play, and his potential departure would hit Kansas City far harder. Steve Spagnuolo. Defensive coordinator. The only coordinator in NFL history to win 4 Super Bowl rings, and the only coordinator ever to win a Super Bowl with 2 different franchises. The Giants in Super Bowl 42, and the Chiefs in Super Bowls 54, LVI, and LVI. This is not just a coordinator. This is the architect of one of the most decorated defensive legacies in modern NFL history. So when Spagnuolo was asked directly about his interest in returning to head coaching, his answer was not a denial. He deflected slightly, insisting his focus was on the team's final game, but then added this: "I'm a prideful guy. We'll see what happens at the end of the year and take it from there. That is not a man closing a door. That is a man leaving it wide open." And the league responded immediately. On Black Monday, NFL insider Ian Rappaport reported that the New York Giants were expected to reach out, while the Tennessee Titans had already submitted a formal request to interview Spagnuolo for their head coaching vacancy. Why the Titans specifically? Titans general manager Mike Borgonzi spent 16 years with the Chiefs before moving to Tennessee in the 2025 offseason, working alongside Spagnuolo for 6 of those seasons. He saw firsthand how the defensive coordinator managed players, game planned for opponents, and handled adversity. This is not a cold call. This is a GM going after someone he trusts with everything. The Giants, the Browns, the Falcons, and even the Las Vegas Raiders. Where part owner Tom Brady is deeply familiar with Spagnuolo from his time against him in the Giants' iconic Super Bowl upset, were all identified as potential suitors. Andy Reid himself went on record saying Spagnuolo is phenomenal and absolutely warrants a head coaching interview. When your own head coach is publicly backing you for other jobs, the writing starts to appear on the wall. Now, Spagnuolo was a head coach once before, with the St. Louis Rams from 2009 to 2011. That stint resulted in just 10 wins across 3 seasons. But he inherited a talent-deficient roster where even Sam Bradford was constantly injured, and the front office gave him very little to work with. That was a different man in a different situation. Today's Spagnuolo has 4 Super Bowl rings, a rebuilt defense, twice over, and the full respect of every general manager in the league. At this stage in his career, a new opportunity could represent his final and best chance to lead an NFL team. And the lessons learned in St. Louis may have prepared him perfectly for a second act. If Spagnuolo leaves Kansas City, the Chiefs do not just lose a coordinator. They lose the heartbeat of their defense. Here is where things move from painful to financially alarming. The Kansas City Chiefs entered this offseason $55 million over the salary cap for 2026, the worst situation in the entire NFL by a significant margin. That is not a small problem to paper over. That requires surgery on the roster. Patrick Mahomes alone carried a $77.2 million cap hit in 2026, a number that essentially explains the entire deficit by itself. A restructure was always going to be necessary, and that is exactly what happened. The Chiefs restructured Mahomes' deal, opening almost $44 million in cap space as their first major move of the offseason. But restructuring Mahomes alone was never going to be enough. Real cuts had to be made. And 2 names in particular were always going to be the most painful. Mike Dana, defensive end. After a career-low 1 sack in the 2025 season, Dana had become too expensive for what he was producing. Cutting him saves the Chiefs $8.8 million in cap space. That move has already been confirmed. The Chiefs released Dana as part of their early off-season restructuring. Drew Tranquill, linebacker. Tranquill was present on 85% of the team's defensive snaps last season, a significant workload, but his $6 million in non-guaranteed earnings for 2026 made him a financial vulnerability. Rather than an outright release, the Chiefs negotiated a salary reduction of over $2 million with Tranquill, keeping him on the roster but at a reduced cost. That is a testament to how much the team values him, but it also confirms that nobody on this roster is untouchable when the financial pressure is this intense. Releasing Jawan Taylor at right tackle saved an additional $19.5 million, which combined with the Dana cut and Mahomes' restructure gave the team enough room to operate in free agency. And operate they did. The Chiefs signed star running back Kenneth Walker III to a 3-year deal worth up to $45 million, addressing what had been one of the team's most glaring weaknesses, a ground game that ranked 25th in the league during the 2025 season. Here is the thing about Kansas City that you need to understand. This is not a team falling apart. This is a team being forcibly reset, and there is a meaningful difference. The Chiefs have already brought back Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator, a familiar face, who worked alongside Mahomes during the most successful stretch of his career. After 3 seasons under Matt Nagy, where the offense gradually became too dependent on Mahomes making individual plays rather than operating within a structured system, the return of Bieniemy is a genuine reason for optimism. The Chiefs also hold the number 9 and number 29 picks in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, top 10 draft capital they have not had since 2013. That is an opportunity to inject real young talent into a roster that desperately needs it. And Mahomes himself? He is already throwing. Andy Reid confirmed Mahomes is spending 7 hours a day in the team facility, making consistent progress. The target remains a return for Week 1 of the 2026 season. Empires do not fall overnight. They evolve or they collapse. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are in the middle of deciding which path they take. So Chiefs fans, here's where things stand. Spagnuolo could be gone. Dana is already gone. Tranquill took a pay cut to stay. The salary cap has been surgically repaired. And a healthy Mahomes, with a new offensive coordinator, and 2 first-round picks is either the beginning of a second dynasty, or the beginning of something that never quite reaches those heights again. The offseason is far from over. This story is not finished. And every major development lands here first, broken down with the facts, the sources, and the full context you actually need. If you want to stay locked in on everything happening with the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason, subscribe to this channel right now. Drop a comment below. Do you think Spagnuolo leaving would be the biggest blow to this defense in years? Or can Kansas City rebuild around what they still have? Let me know. See you in the next one.